Shirley Jones. You ever notice how one look from someone can rewrite your whole day? That tiny lift of an eyebrow, a grin across a crowded room, and suddenly the world feels scripted just for you. Sit back. I'm taking you through a love letter memory tour. A 1-year-old star spilling the names of 7 men who, in her words, made the movies and her heart shimmer. Gordon MacRae. He was her first big leading man, the kind you fell for without warning. Imagine being barely out of your teens, standing on a soundstage, and hearing a voice so steady it hushes the crew. That was Gordon. Not just handsome, solid, warm, calming. He had that old-fashioned gentleman thing, steady hands, patient jokes, a way of making rehearsals feel like secret conversations. When he sang, she says, the whole set stopped, and for a moment, it was just the two of them. That kind of presence leaves a mark. It's the kind of memory that lingers like the last note of a favorite song. Frank Sinatra. Ah, Frank. Walk into any room and the air changes, you know the type. He didn't need to perform, his very being did the work. Picture the tailored suit, the cigarette held like an exclamation point, and that voice velvet with a little smoke. He had the uncanny talent of making you believe his attention was only for you, even when half the room wanted it too. Unpredictable? Absolutely. Magnetic? Without question. Meeting him felt like stepping into a story where the plot thickened the second he smiled. James Garner. Then there was Jim. Easy, funny, honest. Not flashy, just reliable in that rare, old-school way. He could crack a joke between takes, and somehow make everything breathe easier. The thing about him was authenticity. What you saw on screen was who he was off-screen. He treated everyone with kindness, from the big players to the background extras, and that humility made him unforgettable. Standing next to him, she remembers, you could forget the cameras existed. That's the kind of man who makes the hard days lighter. Paul Newman. Paul's effect wasn't loud, it was luminous. Think of someone whose smile seems to make rooms brighter. That was him. He had a calm magnetism and a gentleness that never tried too hard. She remembers how he made people feel seen, really seen, which in Hollywood is precious. There was a kindness behind that famous look, a sense that he used his public life for more than applause. That depth? It makes you respect somebody and, just maybe, fall for them a little. Cary Grant Cary. The name itself sounds like a bow tie and a raised eyebrow. Class personified. He walked into a space and made conversation feel like a clever dance. Timing, charm, a wit so effortless it felt like foreplay. That was his specialty. He had that gift for making the mundane sound enchanting, and when he touched your hand, it mattered. To watch him move through a room was to observe romance performed with impeccable technique. Shirley's memory of him is that he turned flirting into a kind of art. Rock Hudson Rock had this warmth that you felt the second he entered. Tall, striking, yes, but what people remember was his softness. He made the long, exhausting shoots feel bearable. He didn't posture, he simply made you comfortable. There's a tenderness in that kind of presence. A man who can be strong without trying to prove it, who uses laughter like a balm. She remembers leaving conversations with him lighter, as if the world had lost a shade of its heaviness. That, she says, is the real charm. Robert Redford. Robert carried that California calm like it was part of his wardrobe, relaxed, thoughtful, quietly charismatic. He wasn't loud about it, his cool was internal, the kind that makes people lean in. What stood out was the intelligence behind his gaze, a stillness that invited you to listen. He didn't need to command attention. Attention came anyway. To be around him felt like being in the company of someone who could make you trust silence as much as speech. That kind of composed confidence ages well, she says, and it's timeless. Now, what ties these stories together? It isn't just looks or fame. It's a mix of gentleness, presence, and an old-school charm that didn't rely on spectacle. These men had a way of making ordinary moments feel important. A look, a laugh, a private joke between takes, that's the currency of memory. She says she came from an era when a man didn't have to text to show interest. He simply looked at you properly, and that gaze could hang with you for decades. There's also playfulness in what she shares, that silvery laugh, the sly little admissions. She's not just cataloging crushes, she's celebrating an era of movie-making where romance was as much about chemistry and courtesy as it was about the camera. She teases, she sighs, she lights up, and you feel like you're sitting with someone who's seen the whole picture, who can name the actors and the virtues that mattered most. So, what's the takeaway? Maybe it's this. Charisma often hides behind kindness. The grand gestures make the headlines, but what stays with you are the small, human things. Steadiness, humor, respect. A look that says you matter. Fame fades, but how somebody makes you feel. That's the memory that keeps playing on repeat. She pauses, eyes glimmering with that same mischievous spark that once lit up movie screens. You know, she says softly, it wasn't really about who was the most handsome or the most famous. It was about connection. The quiet kind. The kind that sneaks up on you between takes. When the cameras stop rolling and someone makes you laugh so hard, you forget you're acting. That, she adds, was the true magic of her era, moments that felt unscripted, even in a world built on scripts. Those glances, those shared laughs, those fleeting sparks, they were real. I suppose, she says, with a smile, that's what keeps you young, remembering the good ones and knowing you were lucky enough to be there. Then she leans back, laughter spilling out once more, soft, silvery, full of life. 7 men, she repeats, almost to herself. 7 stories. But the truth is, every one of them taught me something about grace, about humor, about being present. They made the work joyful. They made the moments memorable. Her smile widens, that familiar twinkle still shining bright. And, darling, she adds with a wink, if I had to do it all again, I wouldn't change a thing. If you liked taking this little stroll through Hollywood's golden era romances and the way memories stitch themselves into stories, hit like if a single look ever changed your whole day. And subscribe if you want more short dives into classic Hollywood moments and the people who made them shimmer. Tell me in the comments, which of these 7 would you have loved to meet?